Hi everyone, this is Doron and I'm here to show you a walkthrough of the game Nations. I just want to say I prepared this video to provide you with as simple of a walkthrough as possible. I might not get into the rules in depth. The intent of the video is not to provide a review of the game, but an idea of how it plays. An opinion of the game is very personal. If I like it, it does not mean that you will like it too. So the intent of this video is to help you get an idea of what the game is by showing you the gameplay and decide if this game, if you should try this game, if it's a game that you should try. The video of course is also intended to show you a visual walkthrough in case you don't want to read the rules or need a better understanding of them. In an effort to keep this video as short as possible, you might notice some mistakes on my part. Please let me know and I'll annotate that in the video. As such, if you're watching this as embedded video, I suggest click on the YouTube button to watch it on the YouTube sites, so you'll actually see the annotations of the video. I don't think annotations appear in embedded videos. Alright, so that being said, Nations is a game, if you're familiar with another game Through the Ages, which I've prepared the walkthrough to, and I either gonna show you a link to it now or towards the end of this video. It has some similarities, but it's different enough that at least to me justified the purchase of it. I already own Through the Ages. It's currently my favorite game. This comes in second, and they're actually pretty equal in their spot. The main reason why I bought this is the solitaire mode. This game can be played by one. It's intended to play, I believe, from 1 to 5 players, but I really wanted to play Through the Ages as a solo game, and I never had the chance to. I didn't see any variants that let you do that. This game is a more streamlined version, if I can say so, of Through the Ages, but like I said, there are some similarities, but enough differences in my opinion to own both of them. It's an excellent game. Now, what it is, like I said, you build a civilization, your nation I should say, using a board, and I'll get into more detail later. Each player has a board, and each board is representing a certain nation. For example, this one is Greece. Now the board comes with two sides. Side A and side B, where side A is more of a simple or unified type of a game, if I can say, where everybody starts with the same exact layout, same type of cards, which I'll explain in a second, and same amount of resources. Side B of a game, each nation has it's concentrating on specific unique abilities, cards as well as resources. The card of let's see if there's actually any differences. Yes, as you can see, there's differences here in cards for each nation on side B, as well as resources listed here. So let's get into a little bit more detail. This is the board, like I said, and you start with specific set of resources if we're speaking on side A, and side A is what I'm going to use to show this game. In this game, in order to purchase cards, to acquire cards and do certain actions, you need different type of resources and workers. So you start with 3 type of food, which we have here, 6 stones, resources, which with them you are able to build buildings or assign workers to building, and they will represent buildings or acquire a certain army. 6 gold, which is a currency that you get to pay for certain actions, 7 victory points, and 5 workers in your worker pool. Now the goal of the game is at the end of the game, whomever has the most victory points wins the game, and that's being acquired by the cards that you have, a certain stability, books, the most that you have. Basically, you accumulate certain points from certain categories, and you divide them by 10, I believe the rules say, and that's your added victory points in addition to the victory points that you gain through the game. Now, in this game, what will happen is there are 4 ages: Antiquity, Medieval, Renaissance, and Industrial. each age is represented by a deck of cards, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, and each one has a marking at the bottom. I'm not sure it's clear enough to see, but here it's indicated 1 line for first age, 2 for second, third, and fourth. Now every age also has an event card for that specific age. Event age 1, 2, 3, and fourth. It all will make a little bit more sense in just a little bit. This is the scoring board, as well as some additional information. The track around the board is an indicator for the books. Books are being used for certain actions. Sometimes you have to pay books, so the more you have, the more you basically have to be able to spend or to pay penalties. If you are at 0 and you have to pay books, you are being penalized. It says specifically in the rules by how, but if I'm recalling, you might be losing victory points as well as resources or something like that. Here we have the turn marker, where, as you can see here, each age is being represented, and each age has 2 turns. That after the second turn, you gain victory points. In a play, let's say in a 2-player game, the person who has the more books receives 1 victory points for each nation below it. So that's what happens at that. At the moment that we reach to the 8th round, basically, at that point the game will be over and victory points will be counted, and whoever has the most obviously wins. Now, what I like about this game, in addition to the side B that adds a little bit more interesting, there's the ability to set a certain difficulty for each player if they want. So therefore an experienced player can set a difficulty for themselves, while playing with a novice that can set an easier difficulty for them. So from the easiest to the hardest, a chieftain, a prince, a king, and emperor. So the most experienced player can set up the difficulty this way. And what it does basically, during the first phase of each round, you have the ability to either acquire a worker or get a certain number of one specific resource. And resources are pretty valuable in this kind of a game. So for example, at the easiest level, difficulty level, you would be able to get 4 of either stone, gold, or food, where the hardest you get only 1. So it gives you quite a bit of a variable gameplay to be able to play against experienced player if you just started and basically have a chance. Also, what's nice about this game is that there are cards in each deck that are advanced and experts that you can take them out if you want to basically play a more basic game, I should say. And that would be a good idea probably to do on your first turn. Next we have here the stability track, which if you have played with Through the Ages, it's somewhat similar to the lab points in a way. The more stability you have, that can affect certain things in the game. Here we have the pool for architects, which architects are being used to build wonders. I'll get into that in just a little bit. Here we have the player order, which is determined randomly at the beginning of the game, but after each round it might change. It depends on who has the most army strength, which is in this track, and during the game you gain more strength, which helps you in wars or things like that. If for any reason there's a tie in the army, then whomever has the more stability is going to get to be the first player in the next round. If for any reason the stability also is a tie, then the player order does not change. So in here, this is the location for events. At a certain time in the round, we reveal an event card that will affects the game in a little bit, and that's where besides of war, your army power and stability comes in play, and you will see in just a second what I mean. Now let's concentrate on the board a little bit, and I can show here, hopefully you'll be able to see. So here you will place cards that you acquire from the from this location that we'll spread the cards in just a little bit, but basically the blue locations represent buildings, red represent army, orange represent advisors, or in through the ages leaders, green for colonies that you acquire, brown are for wonders. This is a location where you acquire a wonder, you place it here until you're done building it, and I'll explain it in a little bit. Once it's being built, you move it to one of these slots. You can acquire only one wonder at a time. Now, these 5 slots, they're interchangeable in a way. You can place red army cards anywhere also on blue, or blue cards also anywhere on the red. So you could end up, if it's part of your strategy, 4 red cards and 1 blue, or 3 blue and 2 red. However it's gonna work. Now every round you have a production, and let me focus on that, maybe that will make a difference. Every round you'll have a production phase where you either produce resource or you pay. Everything in a circle and is red is a resource that you gain. A gold, a book, a stone, gold. This is your starting, if you can say, hand. Everything that is in a square, the moment you perform an action by placing the worker on here, you would gain this army immediately, and you raise your token on the army track by 2. Let me refocus on that. Etc. Here you have a square for stability. You go up 1 by stability by 1. Now, the idea of the game is, if you want for any reason during the round to acquire a gold or a stone, you will have to bring one of your worker into this tile, pay 1 stone to be able to build it, and as long as the worker is there during your resolution phase, your production section, you will gain these guys. Now here you have your bank of workers that during a specific section in your maintenance phase you can grab, and only then, unless there's a specific action that lets you do that, grab a worker, let's say from here, and once you grab one you'll have to pay 3 stability. If you don't have that stability, you won't be able to do it. You could instead grab a worker from here, and what this will cause is that every time during your production section, you will have to pay 3 food for this person. Now let me put this back. Let's see if I focus that. I believe that I have. Alright, so the way that it works, we have a great round summary token here, and I'll just simply follow that. In the maintenance phase, which is the first one, the first action to do is advance around the marker, and the second action to do is progress cards, which will lay them down, or clear cards, which I'll explain in a second. However, on the first round you skip those 2 actions. So the third action that you will do is growth. You either have the ability to acquire a worker or take resources based on the difficulty level that you set to yourself. So that would be 4 stone or 4 gold or 4 food. I'll start with a yellow, and I think I will take 4 stone. Place it here. Now, unlike through the ages, again, if you're familiar with the game, on your turn you do all the actions, and when you're done, then the next player moves. In this game, you perform 1 action, 1 single action, and then the next player after you performs his action, 1 action, and then it goes back to you. This is obviously a 2-player game. In a more number of players that play in it, it will just like go from first players to second to third, etc. Alright, So now this player will decide to take, for whatever reason, just for showing that, 4 gold. Okay? Alright. Now, so that was the growth section. Now, new events. The next section is to reveal new events. Now, what will happen is we take the first card of the event, we'll place it here, and actually I would like to take a different one because I want to show something in it that this one doesn't have. As you can see here, hopefully you can see it clearly, there's a section where we will place an architect here. Alright? And this event will be resolved during a later section of this game, but it basically says whoever has the least military power has to return 1 worker. Now, I do believe that returning a worker would mean from here to your pool. Now that would be undeployed. That would mean returning a worker from your pool to this area, from your resource area to the pool, the worker pool. And then another event, whoever has the most ability regains all victory points it lost toward this round. So if there would have been a war, which I'll explain in a little bit what it means, then whoever has the most stability regains a victory point. Now, one thing I should say, when an event talks about whoever has the most, if there's a tie, nobody gains that benefit. That's my understanding. However, if there's a section that tells you whoever has the least of something, either stability or army, if there are 2 that are tied, they both have to take the consequence. Right? Also, what happens is there might be a situation where your token will go below 0 of stability, which in that case you'll be in revolt, which that will cause you losing certain things, which I'll have to look into the rules for that, but it's the same idea with the book. You pay resources, or you pay gold, or you lose victory, but that's basically the idea. So we just revealed the new event. Now the next section is architects. What does that mean? Taking the architect from what this card told us and move it to the supply. Now, this happens on the first run that we take the architect from here. What really needs to happen is placing another architect on this area according to the number of the players, which is 2, and we place only 1. And then when we bring on the architects phase, we bring the architects to the supply, which then they will be available to the players. It should be also brought from here. However, the rules say that on the first round we do it only from the event. So that's what we did. That's the architect. So again, the maintenance phase, you move the round marker, you will advance it, then the progress cards. But those 2 actions you do not do on your first round. Then growth, which you either take a worker from this pool, or you get 4 of 1 resource, then you reveal a new event card, and you reveal architect. So that's your maintenance phase. Now the action phase, which in the action phase, you do 1 out of 3 actions per turn. You can buy progress cards here, which there are none at the moment, or you can deploy a worker from here to anywhere on a building or army, or you can hire an architect. So at the moment all we can do is really deploy. There aren't any progress cards to buy, and hiring an architect we cannot do since we don't have any under construction. Alright, so just to show a little bit how this game works, what I'm going to do, I'm going to deploy one of my workers. I'm going to place him on the army, and I'm paying 1 stone. Now as soon as I've done that, I can progress my token on the army track by 2. And now when I get to the production section under the resolution phase, I'll have to pay a food for that, which I do have at the moment. Also, one thing about the army and the buildings, actually, cards that I buy, I can replace, I actually place them on top, and that means that anything below does not apply anymore. Now, if I purchase a card and place it, for example, over this location, then my worker will have to go back to my resource area, and which in that case I will have to reduce my army token by 2, but I just purchased that one. This person, the next player, decides for whatever weird reason to actually buy a temple, and he pays 1 stone. It's gonna be here. Paid 3, got 2 back, and let's just do one more. I'm gonna buy a caravan, and I'm getting back change. Now this guy, for some reason, just for the sake of showing you the game, he gets another temple. That to show you just that you can have more than one worker on each building. Now, one thing that I would like to point, and I hope it's really clear through the video, there's 1 victory point indicated here, which means for the first worker that you put in here at the end of the game, it will be worth 1 victory point. Some cards show 3 different workers with victory points value, which means the first 3 workers you place on them will gain you victory points at the end of the game. Now, let's pretend that neither one of these players want to continue and they pass. Once everybody passes, you move to the resolution phase, which the first section would be production. And production is done in order from gold, food, stone, and books. So if we start with the yellow, and both players do it at the same time, because there's no effect here from one player to another. So if we go with gold first, this worker gives us 1 gold, and then a food, he has to pay 1 food. Let's see here, 1 food. Stone, it doesn't have any, does not gain any stone. Oh, and one thing that I didn't do, as soon as I placed this guy, I was supposed to go up the stability by 1, and there is no stones, and there are no books. For this guy, he gets 2 gold because he has 2 workers on this card, and he gains 2 books. So he goes up by 2, and that's it. Then I'm going to the player order. Whomever is the strongest will be the first player in the next round. Yellow is first, he stays first. War, there aren't any wars to resolve, so we skip that. Events, so whoever has the least power, least military points, has to return 1 worker. So the blue has the least, he has to return 1 worker here. In some situations there will be available spots here, and then when you need to return, you decide where you want to return it. But in a situation where this is full, you take it and you place it on top, and you decide later on when you take him again if it's going to be stability you pay or food you pay. So he has to place it here, and most stability, regain all victory points lost to war this round. Now yellow has more stability, but there were no wars, nothing was lost, and nothing is gained. Now the next section after that is famine. Famine is you basically have to pay food to the supply, and it will be indicated on the event, which in this case it indicates 0, so there's no penalty, nothing needs to buy. And the 6th section is scoring. If you're at the end of an age after the 2nd round, you score by, like I said, whoever has the most books gains 1 victory points to every nation or every player that is below him. And that's how the that's when the round is over. So again, resolution phase, you do production where you gain resources or you lose them. Then a player order is being determined based on the war, the military power. Then wars are being resolved. Then events are being resolved. You pay famine, and then you score for end of an age. So I'm gonna keep this this video as the first video for now, and I'll continue in the second video immediately after this one, showing you how cards are being refilled and etc. At the moment, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and remember that sharing is caring. Thank you.